Hi, today we're doing an interview about feminist identity, and this is.
Lindsay MacDonald. I'm a fashion designer. I'm 21 years old.
So let's get started. So I want to ask you, are you a feminist?
I am. I do consider myself a feminist
Why?
because I think that feminism is really just synonymous with equality, and that's just something I believe in. I think it makes sense, and I think really everybody should believe in that.
How long have you been a feminist for? Like a moment where you realize, yep, I'm a feminist.
Probably when I was around 15, 16. Growing up, I grew up in a town that was very not diverse and not really progressive either. So I was never really had an opinion formed on feminism for a long time because I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't necessarily know that like it was important. And I do remember a specific time because I love history, and I was taking a history class, and I remember the teacher of that class. This was probably in grade 12, so I might have been older than 16. I remember her saying something about how feminism was so important today, and I was like, well, why? I'm a woman, I don't feel oppressed. And then she just sort of like she didn't go into like a tirade, but she like fully like explained, like the whole feminist thing, how like maybe me, this little white girl in my small town, like I don't feel oppressed at that second, but like it doesn't mean that like the whole issue isn't important and that it's not relevant in today's society still, which obviously like it really tremendously is. And I think that like that actually made me realize and sort of open my eyes and think like, okay, maybe I shouldn't just talk about these things I don't know about and sort of look into it more and realize what it's about.
Can you elaborate on how it's relevant into today's society still?
Well, I know that there's still like inequality in pay and wage gaps, and that's pretty ridiculous. I know that a lot of women feel really pressured into sex or don't feel safe walking alone at night. The neighborhood that I live in recently had like this little slew of people, like women who were walking alone getting attacked. And my boyfriend wanted to get me like pepper spray to carry around with me, and I was like, this is an issue. Like, do you feel unsafe walking in Toronto at night? And he's like, no. So like clearly it's just a different world out there, I guess, when you're a woman alone. And like no one should feel vulnerable in that situation. Like it's just not right. And yeah, like those are like things that sort of immediately affect me at my point in life, even though there's a ton of other issues that are around.
Were there ever situations like you personally felt now after that learning what feminism means that you thought, oh, this is a sexist issue?
Yeah, just the way that like different men have treated me or talked to me or approached me like in bars with just like really open like sexual gestures that are completely unsolicited in any way, and I don't understand how anyone could think that that's an acceptable way to approach another human being. Or even dating apps when I was single, the way that people automatically speak to you, just assuming right away that like your main interest is sex.
Yeah.
And I just like I know that happens to a lot of people and not just me. And like I know probably every girlfriend I had who has had one of those situations in a bar or club where someone just comes on to them way too strong, and like their girlfriend has to sort of like step in and intervene, and it's just like it's just not fair when someone goes out for a night out to have to deal with that sort of unsolicited attention.
Yeah. So it sounds like part of feminism, you feel that it's needed also is because of other people thinking they're entitled to your body and just to your personal space.
Yeah.
They don't try to gain as like respect as compared to how they would approach a male.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything personally that you did that you feel that makes you more of a feminist?
Really just like my main approach, I guess, in my interactions with other people is just to treat everyone the exact same, like regardless of if I'm talking to a woman, what their sexual orientation may be, like what their gender identity might be. Like I just think that every human being deserves the same level of respect when you speak to them, and that you should not treat them any differently based on anything whatsoever, whether like they have disabilities or anything like that. And I just know that a lot of men who talk to me specifically talk to me completely differently because I'm a woman, and I just don't think that anyone should do that. Like one of the main points of feminism is equality. So in my everyday life, that's what I try to aim for when I interact with every other person.
What do you want others to know about feminism or feminists?
I just want them to understand what it's about and know that it's not crazy and it's not trying to oppress men and it's not sort of this like feminine supremacy that like a lot of people seem to think that it is. And I just really want people to understand it, really. I just want people to know what it's about. And I think that in today's society, everyone is so quick to pass judgment and formulate opinions on things that they know very little about.
Yeah.
And then speak out about those things.
Yeah.
And it's just really ignorant, truthfully.
Yeah. Is there a specific stigma that you feel like is attached to feminists and you want to show them this is what a real feminist is like?
Yeah, like there's like this whole trope of like, you know, this really like masculine looking woman who's a feminist and burning bras and doing all this crazy stuff. And I also want people to know that men can be feminists, and it makes perfect sense for a man to say that. Like, it doesn't mean, once again, that feminine superiority, that's not what it's about. It's not about oppressing men, obviously. And I just think that a lot of men lump the word feminist in with that crazy ideal in their mind that I don't even think is a big thing today anyways. I don't think there's a lot of people who are like that. So it's just sort of like one little stereotype affecting the rest of a greater movement that really has like, it has no negative agenda in any sort of way. Yeah.
Are there any specific feminist causes you care about?
Well, I do care a lot about the wage gap specifically, and I care that a lot of people don't necessarily understand it, because I've actually been talking to someone who thought it just meant that men make more than women in general, and not realizing that it means for the exact same job, for the exact same position, men make more money for literally doing the exact same thing. And like, it just seems so criminal in Western society where like people who own companies can get away with that. Like, it's actually just really obnoxious in my opinion. And I mean, there's like so many feminist causes out there, and obviously like only so many of them affect me in my personal life, but that's one that I really care about and really notice a lot. Also like intersectional feminism too, where like when race gets involved and everything else, like it's not just that someone's being oppressed because they're a woman, but now also because of their race or because of any other like thing about them too. Like, I think that also really has to be the forefront of feminism and not forgotten. That like feminism isn't just for white people, obviously, like everything else in the world. So like everything else in the world isn't, that's what I mean. Yeah. And I think that sort of like should not ever be forgotten, because that's really important as well.
Good point.
Yes.
People often forget that also maybe if they're not experiencing oppression, other people might be experiencing because of those qualities. So
exactly.
That's a really good point.
What do you want people to know about feminism, Sarah? Like, what to you?
That it's not just so simple as one thing that is making a woman oppressed, or someone who doesn't fit into the binary genders. If they identify something else, it's a system of actions, and it's not always in the law or policies. It's even how people behave. The norms of behavior could be oppressive, like in the culture itself. So, for example, you talked about the wage gap.
Yes.
And they say part of it is also women don't get paid as much even if they are doing the same job as a man. And some could argue it's because men have better jobs. And sometimes that's the case because there are more male in the STEM fields.
Got it.
But also there's a study saying that girls are not as enthusiastically taught the STEM fields because people assume those are not their interests. Right. But if we are to teach girls the same way we taught boys, like what their interests are, sort of condition them like these are interesting topics, perhaps there would be more women in STEM field and could make a wage that is comparable to men.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's a system of things that accumulate to the outcome of women being at a disadvantage.
You know what else I really hate a lot too is like, as a person, like I have like the fullest belief that like no one is ever born inherently great or inherently good at something. Like maybe like you're sort of taught to believe that as a child. I think it's sort of ingrained in you that like, you know, Mozart was just like born to be Mozart. Like that's it. Like it's in his DNA. Like that's how he is. But like any human being can do anything. Yeah. Like absolutely, like fully. So like I think a lot of the prejudice is based along the lines that women are not rational. And I've even heard like educated people be like, no, women are so much more emotional, they're not rational, whatever, and like that just like goes against like a belief that I hold so true to my heart is that like anyone can do anything, and like even if that should be true, if that was the case, and I have no idea if it is, then like that still doesn't mean that they're incapable of doing like algebra or calculus or anything like that. Like, and it just makes me sick to think that like any person could ever be told that they cannot do something for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, I just think that there's no reason that someone cannot follow their heart and become anything.
Yeah.
Like that, like is like physically possible.
Yeah.
Of course. So like that also really gets to me too. Like children should, I don't know, I think there's like a lot of problem in the institutions as well, like you said.
Yeah.
That like it's just become normalized.
So this is our resulting t-shirt. It is by Lindsay MacDonald and Sarah Cho. Thank you.
Thank you.